faithfully delivering value, interpreting great books worldwide. Hello, this is Sally's Book Club. Today I'll interpret for you this universally acclaimed 20th century classic novel called The Tin Drum. The author is Nobel laureate Günter Grass, a German writer. German language novels had long been stagnant in the early decades of the 20th century, but Grass's post-war works dramatically reversed this trend. Back then, nearly every bookstore window in Europe displayed Grass's works. A British publisher even adopted the protagonist from the tin drum as their company logo. Yet few know that its author, Günter Grass, grew up in a small merchant family in Danzig. To make ends meet, he worked as a miner, stonemason, drummer, and model. During 2-1, he even joined the Nazi German army. After the war, Grass began writing and joined West Germany's literary group 47. Named for its 1947 founding, Group 47 became a cradle of post-war German literature and crucial launchpad for Grass's career. In 1958, the 31-year-old Grass read The Tin Drum's first chapter at Group 47. Fellow writers immediately rose in cheers, proclaiming a masterpiece was being born. Sure enough, after publication the following year, it became a cultural phenomenon. Everyone read and debated it, making Grass an overnight sensation. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1999. Though Grass wrote nearly 20 works, The Tin Drum alone justifies this honor. But opening this world-renowned novel may disappoint. It's not an easy read. The Chinese translation runs over 500 pages across 46 sections with dense, oppressive plot lines. The story depicts a chaotic, absurd world. Protagonist Oskar is equally bizarre. A dwarf stuck at 94 centimeters tall, roaming the adult world while beating his tin drum. His screams shatter glass, he awakens church statues, and so on. Grotesque events befall him as he witnesses humanity's strangest behaviors. The grotesque is a defining style of the tin drum. Author Grass employs sharp satire, chilling depictions, and even fervent carnality. This led to both the novel and its film adaptation being banned for a time. So why use such a grotesque approach? Grass stated that The Tin Drum portrays the darkest, ugliest history of the Nazi rise and fall in Germany. Such a grotesque history could only be depicted through grotesque methods. The novel employs a flashback technique. The story opens with 30-year-old Oskar in an asylum writing his memoir. Beside him lies a tin drum. A few beats summon memories, which he then records. It then traces Oskar's lineage, his birth and growth, his 1212 adventures, family upheavals, and post-war experiences. Oskar's memories form the novel's three main parts. Part 1 is set in Danzig, a small city between Poland and Germany. Set from the late 19th century to pre-war one, when Nazi influence rose in Danzig. Here, Oskar's mother Agnes was born and had a passionate affair with her Polish cousin, Oskar's uncle. But later, Agnes married a young German soldier, Oskar's father. Despite marriage, Agnes maintained an intimate relationship with Oskar's uncle. Strangely, Oskar's father seemed unbothered. The three adults coexisted peacefully on the surface. From birth, Oskar experienced grotesque events and displayed maturity beyond his years. He detected the affair between his mother and uncle, perceiving the complexity and ugliness of the adult world. He began refusing to grow up. One day at age 3, he intentionally fell in a cellar and miraculously stopped growing, remaining 94 centimeters tall. He wore a toy tin drum around his neck, drumming as he wandered, appearing oblivious. In reality, he used his toddler appearance to covertly observe adults' shady dealings. That Oskar could refuse growth and halt it with a deliberate fall seems unbelievable. The novel then reveals Oskar's supernatural ability. His screams can shatter glass. Through screaming and drumming, he caused chaos at school, home, and public squares. Behind this chaos lay Europe's tense pre-2-1 atmosphere. Yet the three adults continued their lives. Father ran his shop and joined the Nazi SS. Mother and uncle maintained their affair weekly as the novel enters part 2. This section spans from 1939's pre-war to 1945's end in 1945. Family tragedies unfold. Mother, crushed by her twisted family and society, poisoned herself by compulsively eating fish. Soon war erupted. German troops attacked Poland, capturing Oskar and Uncle at Danzig's Polish post office. Uncle was executed as a POW. Oskar returned home to live with father. Father hired a girl, Maria, to help with the shop. Maria, no, physically 17-year-old Oskar, loved Maria until father announced he'd marry her. Oskar couldn't stop it. Maria became his stepmother, fueling his hatred. After Germany occupied Danzig, Soviet troops stormed the city in 1944, arresting Nazis. When soldiers searched their home, Oskar seized revenge. He slipped a Nazi badge into father's hand. Panicked, father swallowed it, but the pin stuck in his throat. His violent coughing prompted a Soviet soldier to shoot him dead. At the funeral, Oskar threw his drum into the grave, vowing to grow up. Miraculously, he soon began growing. Part 3. Post-war. Oskar, now taller, moved west with Maria and family. Though he caused father's death, Oskar never won Maria. Before growing, his childlike disguise let him manipulate adults successfully. Now grown taller, he's often seen as a monster, wandering everywhere, forming jazz bands, making fortunes. Yet, he ultimately grew utterly weary of life. He devised a plan. Feigning madness, he got himself declared insane and sent to an asylum. He declared, "I'm 30. My story's told. I'll spend my days here." Such is roughly the Tin Drums plot. Set in 200 Danzig, Oskar's mother was local. His father and uncle represented Germany and Poland, a love triangle mirroring Nazi Germany's expansionist tensions. This reflects Germany and Poland's covert struggle over Danzig during Germany's eastward expansion. The author maintains a cold, disdainful view of this struggle. Oskar despised both his mother's affair with her Polish uncle and her marriage to his German father. As Nazi Germany expanded, Danzig's Germans began persecuting Poles. Yet mother still secretly met her uncle weekly. During trysts, she left Oskar at a nearby toy shop under the owner's care. One day after a tryst, the toy shop owner melted, professing love, then sorrowfully warned when rejected, "Germans are expelling Poles everywhere. Stop seeing your Polish lover." Mother ignored this well-meant advice. The uncle, oblivious to danger, remained lustfully obsessed with mother. Thus, Oskar held his uncle in contempt. When Wei-Tuan erupted and Germans surrounded Danzig's Polish post office, Oskar met his uncle. His tin drum was broken. Hearing a post office colleague could fix it, Oskar insisted his uncle take him there. Absurdly, despite artillery fire, the uncle agreed. Miraculously, they slipped through German lines into the post office. Soon as gunfire erupted during the German assault, others resisted, while Uncle, Oskar, and the colleague sat playing cards until the colleague was shot and the uncle captured by German troops. Oskar recalled that when Uncle was taken and executed, he wore a foolish smile, as if mocking his own muddled 30-year life. About Uncle's death, Oskar callously remarked, "He was always a guilty man." Through Oskar, the author expresses his view of Poles during 211. Against Germans, Poles acted recklessly, arrogant, strategically blind, dying senselessly. So how does the author portray Germans? Oskar depicts his German father as crude, uncultured, gluttonous, a classic macho. Though married and running the shop dutifully, he never treated mother as an equal partner. His neglect indirectly caused mother's death. During a seaside trip, father helped a fisherman retrieve rotting eels from a decayed wharf, then cooked them. The eel's phallic shape deeply revolted mother, triggering guilt over her affair. This drove her to madness. She compulsively ate fish until it killed her. After the post office battle, Danzig fell to Germans. Uncle died, father joined Nazis and reopened his shop. With his rival gone but mother dead, father never truly possessed her. Both men lost, mirroring Germany's futile seizure of Danzig from Poland. Father hired then married Maria, seemingly forgetting mother. Just as Germans forgot Danzig after conquering it. Father embodies German coldness and insatiable greed in the author's eyes. As World War II ended, Soviet troops entered Danzig. During Nazi hunts, Father choked, swallowing his Nazi badge. Recalling this, Oskar coldly stated, "I might have deliberately opened the badge's pin before handing it to him." Oscar's emotions leaned toward his deceased uncle. He also said, "I always believed I was born from my mother and uncle, not my father's child." Although Oskar emotionally favored his Polish uncle, in the author's portrayal, Germans and Poles have no fundamental difference. They are all numb and complacent with the status quo. For example, card-playing scenes appear multiple times in the novel. Whenever Oscar's father, mother, and uncle gathered, they'd play cards. No matter their conflicts, father and uncle could sit together and reconcile once they played cards. Later, when mother died from insanity, father and uncle were devastated. Yet after mother's funeral, they sat down to play cards again. While playing cards, they were fully absorbed, oblivious to the outside world, isolating themselves from turmoil. The most dramatic was at the Polish post office, where Uncle's colleague was shot, dying, unable to hold cards. Uncle picked up the cards and shoved them into his hand, mentally urging him to play quickly. People were numb and lived in such unimaginable apathy. History was similar. When Nazis rose in Germany, Germans abandoned independent thought, joined the Nazi Party, and obeyed orders. Once little Oskar witnessed Germans chanting slogans, marching in step, passionately parading. He found it amusing and decided to prank by drumming. Unexpectedly, the Germans changed rhythm to his drumming, turning the serious parade into a group dance. Utterly ridiculous. Because Oskar was short, adults always let their guard down around him. They read pornographic material in front of him. Uncle and mother flirted openly. Father forcibly claimed Maria, ignoring Oskar. Lonely women blatantly invited him to satisfy their desires. When they realized Oskar wasn't an ordinary 3-year-old, they were shocked but secretly pleased. Moreover, during the war, German citizens exploited the chaos and collaborated. In November 1938, Germans launched a smash and grab campaign against Jewish shops across Europe. In the novel, the author wrote a scene where one night Oskar saw his uncle approaching from afar and decided to prank him. He shattered a shop's display window with his scream. Sure enough, Uncle stole a necklace from the window for Oscar's mother, while Oskar himself joined the looting. The toy shop owner who sold tin drums was Jewish. After the riots, Oskar rushed to the toy shop to find it ransacked and the owner hanged. But he didn't care. He just wanted to grab more tin drums. Oscar's selfishness mirrors the adult world's moral decay. In this absurd novel, Oskar stands at its center, the drum-toting dwarf embodying the era's darkness. Oscar's identity shifts. Nazi witness, victim, distorted Nazi, war profiteer. He joins the chaos, becoming a petty agent of disorder. Once at a play with parents, Oskar met a dwarf troupe. An actress warned him global turmoil was coming. "We dwarves," she said, "must manipulate others first to avoid being controlled." Oskar absorbed this, so he took initiative. He climbed a spire, screamed to shadow glass, then secretly delighted in adults' panic below. He went to Nazi rallies, manipulating them with drums and screams. And during war, he joined the dwarf troupe, riding Nazi trucks to entertain frontline troops with shattering glass morale boosters. When Maria entered his life, he schemed to seduce her. He satisfied Maria's desires to feed his conquest instinct. Oskar even reflected Hitler's shadow. His cunning carried arrogance. His rebellion revealed ambition. Twice he entered a Catholic church to wreak havoc. First visit, mother took him to confess. He slipped away, found a Virgin Mary statue holding baby Jesus. After staring, he shoved drumsticks into Jesus's hands and hung the tin drum around his neck. "Now you drum too," he said, though the statue ignored him, motionless. But after war erupted, Oskar led a gang of delinquent kids storming the church again. He saw the once still baby Jesus statue, now alive even, speaking to him. Jesus said, "I'll rebuild my church. Succeed me, Oskar." Then began a carnivalesque revolt. Oskar's gang launched an uprising against adult society, seizing the church. Oskar himself sat on Jesus' throne. During his first church visit, baby Jesus ignored Oskar's mockery. Yet during Nazi Germany's peak, Oskar made Jesus speak and yield, a direct Hitler parallel. Hitler forced Europe's political or religious leaders to step down, declaring himself sole ruler. Thus, Hitler, a conquering dwarf in the novel, reveals the author's scathing satire. Oskar refused to grow precisely because the adult world was so vile and dark. Oskar's grandmother, a peasant in voluminous skirts, is pivotal. His grandfather once hid under those skirts, evading police, conceiving Oskar's mother there. After Uncle's death, Oskar returned to grandmother, delivered the news, then crawled under her skirt. Beneath it, he felt an urge to escape the world. It felt safe, a sanctuary for men weary of ambition or numbness. But Oskar remembered the outside world even from his mother's womb. He never liked his family, teachers, or neighbors. His drumming created a private world to live within it. Refusing growth avoided adulthood and preserved hope of returning to the womb. That was the safest place in the world. But with Nazi Germany's expansion and collapse, Oskar's mother, uncle, and father died in Poland, Germany, and Danzig. This city's history reached its end. Oskar sensed this. He no longer needed to resist adulthood or fear growing taller. Instead, he should boldly embrace a new era with fresh opportunities. So he threw his drum into father's grave, burying the past to begin growing. Yet after growing, he lost all possibility of return. He faced adult troubles and challenges, no longer hiding behind a child's guise to scheme, but taking responsibility. Soon he discovered his former privileges were gone. Before he could flirt intimately with Maria in bed. Now Maria rejected his proposal. Where he once spied on women's private affairs, he was now chased away with curses, no longer seen as a child but a grotesque, deformed dwarf. As a man, he had to earn a living. One day, an art professor hired him as a nude model. The professor marveled. Europe just endured a topsy-turvy war period. And you, shorter than normal, somewhat hunchbacked, with that gloomy, terrified gaze, perfectly symbolized this history. To the professor, Oskar was a living artifact of Nazi rule and war. The professor added, "Your chest lacks something. We should hang a drum on you." This intensely ironic scene, the drum visually recreating mass hysteria from that era. Now, to later generations, it all seems absurdly comical. Unable to return to the womb and weary of wandering, Oskar chose his final path, the asylum. In the novel's closing confession, Oskar again compares himself to Jesus, summarizing his life. He says, "Jesus gathered disciples at 30. While I thought I'd achieve greatness, yet my actions only caused death after death. Those I didn't love died. Those I loved died. My greatest achievements mocked by death. So now I'll do nothing but laugh. Only laughter helps me face adulthood's trials." Oskar's longing for return reflects the author's deep nostalgia for German civilization. Germany once shone in science, philosophy, and culture. Einstein, Kant, Hegel, Nietzsche, Goethe, Schiller, Bach, Beethoven. These were humanity's brilliant creators. Yet this very nation became the cradle of two world wars. Why did Germany fall? Post-war German intellectuals grappled with this, a recurring theme in their literature. To Grass, from the 1930s to World War II's end, countless rationalists became fanatics. Extreme pride turned to disillusionment. Morality flipped, common sense shattered, dreams became delusions. Such drama demanded absurd storytelling. Only grotesque plots could capture this era's depravity. This is the tin drum's unique value. Through Oskar's lens, the novel exposes Nazi darkness, wartime apathy, and how Germans' petty self-interest enabled fascism. For Grass, healing national trauma after war was more urgent and difficult than clearing rubble. That concludes our interpretation of the tin drum. Find reading notes below the audio. See you tomorrow.